Hi everyone, I'm Wendy, and today I'm showing you how to make my low-fat, whole food, plant-based fudgy brownies. I showed this treat in my last What I Eat in a Day video, and I wanted to show you how to make two different versions of it. So let's get started. First things first, I'll preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you'll need a large food processor for this recipe. The recipe works best in a 14-cup or larger food processor. However, today I'm showing you in my 10-cup food processor to show you that although it's a little more challenging, it can be done in a smaller food processor. I'm starting with dates. I used about 12 medjool dates, but if you're using a different kind, it's about 8 ounces or 1.5 cups loosely packed chopped dates. The exact amount of dates is flexible. Feel free to add more or less depending on your desired sweetness level. Then to keep this brownie low fat, instead of using nut butters that are often included in brownie recipes, my secret ingredient is a bag of roasted chestnuts. Unlike other varieties of nuts, chestnuts have very low fat. So I'm adding this whole bag, which is 5.29 ounces. I buy this one online from Thrive Market, but I think there's other brands that may have a slightly different weight, but whichever one you find that's close to 5 ounces should work just as well. Next, I have two 15-ounce cans of black beans that I've drained and rinsed. And as you can see, my 10-cup food processor is getting pretty much at its max fill line. So if you have a small food processor, you might want to do this in 2 batches, but we only have a few more ingredients. For the chocolate flavor, I'm using 1/2 cup of carob powder. I use carob powder because I'm sensitive to caffeine. Plus, carob powder is a little sweeter than cocoa powder. Feel free to use cocoa or cacao if you prefer, but it will turn out a little less sweet than the carob version, so you might want to add an extra date or 2. Next up, I have a 1/4 cup of ground flaxseed. And finally, a tablespoon of vanilla bean powder. For this version, you can also add 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, but it's optional. I've made it both ways, and I think the baking powder makes a negligible difference, but feel free to add it for a slightly improved texture. Once all the ingredients are in the food processor, start blending. In a larger, more powerful food processor, it'll probably only take about 30 seconds to a minute to blend this up. But in a smaller food processor like this one, you'll have to stop and scrape down the sides multiple times, and it may take a couple of minutes to blend. As I mentioned earlier, in a smaller machine, you may want to split this in half to make it blend more easily. Otherwise, just be patient and continue to blend until you get a nice, smooth, uniform mixture that has a texture almost like Play-Doh or clay. Then I have an 8-inch square silicone pan. I'll dump the brownie batter in the pan and press it down evenly. Again, be patient and work your way around the pan until you have a nice flat surface. You can use a spatula to press down and flatten it evenly. This will go into the oven for 30 minutes. The top will become dry and crackled. When it's warm, this brownie is especially crumbly, so you'll want to let it cool completely. And if you use a silicone pan, cut the brownie carefully using a dull plastic knife such as this so you don't ruin your silicone pan. This brownie is better when chilled, so I recommend letting it cool and then chill completely in the fridge before serving. Before we get to the second version, if you're enjoying this video, hit the thumbs up. Next, I want to show you a raw version of this same recipe. Of course, the chestnuts have been pre-roasted, so this brownie isn't completely raw, but this time we won't be baking the brownie itself. So once again, I'll add all of the ingredients to the food processor and blend until smooth. As I mentioned earlier, baking powder is optional when you're going to be baking this recipe, but for this raw version, you definitely don't need the baking powder. Once the brownie batter is blended up, I'm using a cookie scoop to make even-sized little brownie bites. This one is about 2 tablespoons, but you could use whatever size scoop you like. You could also go ahead and press this out into a brownie pan and cut it into little pieces and serve it chilled like we did before. But to make this a little more decadent, I have some unsweetened coconut flakes, crushed pistachios, and crushed peanuts. You could also use any other kinds of crushed nuts or seeds as well, but it's totally optional. Since these ingredients are a little higher in fat, you'll just want to be careful of your portion sizes. The same goes for the first version I made. You could definitely top the brownie with any kind of nut before baking to make it even more rich and decadent. And there you have my low-fat, vegan fudgy brownies. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.